นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะพุทโธเมนะโถธัมโมเมนะโถสังโฆเมนะโถอิติปิโสภะคะวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชชาจารณะสัมปันโนสุขโธโลกวิทูอนุตตโรปุริสธรรมสารติสัทธาเทวมนุษย์สานังพุทโธภควาติ Anijja, my dear companions in suffering, and Kalyana Mitta, which means spiritual friends, the true Sangha, the unenlightened true Sangha, those of us who are not yet enlightened but who are true Dharma friends. It's a fundamental teaching of Anijja, impermanence, which lies at the very heart of our existence. And it's important to recognize that all things in the world, without a single exception, if you peruse and contemplate and look through all the phenomena you can think of and find, to see if you can find anything that is unchangeable and not impermanent, not transient. And you will see that everything is subject to change and impermanence. Just as the seasons come and go, the tides rise and fall, the sun sets and rises again, day becomes night, night becomes day, moods change from good to bad, to grumpy, to happy, to excited, to sad. And so too does everything in our lives follow this natural law, which I believe is evolutionary and part of the survival instinct of animals. And to overcome this, through contemplation, vipassana kamatan, and following the path and the practice and the efforts of the Buddha and the merits to achieve them, makes you overcome these natural laws. And that is supernatural, not spellcasting or flying in the sky or walking on water. Those are miracles using the laws of physics, the cosmic laws of energy and vibratory energy. But to overcome your instinct to survive and to preserve your species is supernatural, because it supersedes the natural instinct. And that's why what the Buddha achieved is supernatural. But what magicians achieve is not supernatural. That is vicca. It is a science, the science of magic. And so, nothing remains fixed or permanent. Everything arises and passes away. Even us. And we're constantly changing. We don't possess the same body, not even a single skin cell that we possessed when we were 2 years old. Every 7 years, we lose every single skin cell we have now, and we have completely new skin cells. There's not a single cell in your body that's from 8 years ago. So we even changed bodies in one single life. And we get older, and we get sick, and our moods change, and our health changes, and our experience changes, and our perception changes, and our opinions change, and our thoughts change. And they never stop. In fact, it's incessant, like a candle flame that's flickering. It can't come to a standstill. It's completely tiring, which is what those who have seen the Dharma of the Buddha have seen and decided, and that is what leads them to follow in the footsteps of the Buddha, because they see the incessant pointlessness of it all, that it never ends. That is samsara, vata samsara. the endless cycle of rebirth and repeating the same old crap. Yeah. And so, if you want to understand this, we can take a simple example, and you consider a beautiful flower. At first, it's going to bloom, and all its petals will open, and you'll see all its vibrant colors shining, radiating sweet fragrance, and attracting the insects to pollinate, because there's a reason, there's a cause and an effect, even behind beauty of fragrance and color. The beauty is perceived in the eye of the beholder. But as time goes by, those petals, they dry up and wither. It pollinates, and it eventually returns to the earth. And the cycle of birth, growth, decay, and death continues. And this is what I call the dance of impermanence. I call it the forever war. I call it the cycle of the recycling, of transformation. I don't believe that we stop existing. We just transform. We might become dust in the desert. Our bodies, our minds, and the electricity of our neurons may dissolve to become part of something else, but at some other point they'll coagulate. And if you're lucky and all the causes are there, you might even be born again as a human. But if not, you might become something else. And that's why the Buddha said, hurry up and wake up. Because if not, you might not have any choice in that matter. So, as the flower returns to the earth, and the cycle of birth, growth, decay, and death, and the dance of impermanence goes round and round, giving birth to new flowers which repeat the same process and are impermanent. They have a process of arising, appearing to exist for a moment, which they don't really, because they're just changing more slowly than your eyes can perceive, like a mountain arises and erodes. You can't see it in a moment. You need 1,000,000 years or 10. So let's explore the connection now, if we're getting scientific, between anicca, impermanence, the Buddhist concept of anicca, and the theory of the second law of thermodynamics in quantum physics, in quantum mechanics and physics, which is known as entropy. Entropy tells us, or claims, that in any closed system, such as this universe, disorder tends to increase over time, which means orderly things tend to move towards the disorderly. I personally disagree. A sandcastle dissolves in the desert. Is that order dissolving into disorderly? I personally think the ripples and the dunes of the desert are orderly and repetitive, never the same, but very repetitive, like a Mandelbrot set. But that the castle is the disturbance, is the chaos and the entropy, and that the desert is just rearranging it back into its natural order, because that's its natural order, which appears chaotic to humans in our perception, because we think the castle is orderly. But actually what we do is to take natural order and balance and structure of nature and restructure it ourselves into something we consider orderly in square blocks, using certain kinds of geometry which does not fit with the cosmic natural plan, and which may have been created by people with another plan, or may have just been an accident, I don't know. But sacred geometry, the geometry forms the algorithm, because algorithms have a geometry, and all frequential vibrations, all causes and effects have a geometric element to them. And the masters of this world, the lords of this world, understand that. And slowly but surely, some of us also understand that, which means we can use it to stop other people using it wrongly. So, thermodynamics, known as entropy, says that in any closed system, disorder tends to increase over time, and that order naturally gives way to chaos, the chaos theory. In the same way, anicca, meaning impermanence or transience, reveals that within the grand matrix of existence, all phenomena are subject to change and decay, to entropy. Systems, structures, and even our physical bodies are subject to the relentless march of impermanence. Even kingdoms and civilizations, all kinds of systems, even operating systems, they have to be updated and changed one day. They become obsolete. One thing is taken over by the next. It's part of evolution. Even in abstract things like society, the evolution of society and the evolution of technology and how humans interact with it. That is not escaping the natural algorithm of evolutionary progress programmed in by the universal quantum dynamics of whatever created the rules that govern this universe, because there seem to be some rules. And the Dhamma demonstrates that, of the Buddha, and quantum mechanics demonstrates that. So both Anijja and the second law of thermodynamics can remind us of that transitory nature of our world, our lives, and all phenomena, all dhammas. All dhammas. A dhamma means phenomena, all things. They teach us to let go of attachments, both Anijja and thermodynamics, if we understand both of them and see how they correlate. And we might understand that clinging to that which is impermanent can only bring suffering in the end, because when it busts, or it gets old, or you lose it, or your beauty becomes old age and ugliness, or your health becomes sickness, then it brings suffering and regret. Even your actions and words can bring suffering and regret. So by letting go of those unskillful acts, thoughts, deeds, words, and intentions and emotions, we can perhaps embrace impermanence, which sounds funny because letting go of clinging is the key. So embracing impermanence, embracing is not letting go. But to embrace impermanence is a double negative, because to embrace impermanence means to let go. If you let go, you embrace impermanence. So, if we embrace impermanence, we might be able to find a path towards further liberation and perhaps attain some freedoms from the illusions of permanence and control which we believe in and experience when we're lost in the past, the future, and sometimes in a current event in the present moment that makes us forget to enjoy the fact we exist and lose our happiness, lost in the fact that somebody scratched your new Ferrari as you walk out of the hotel, or your brand new shoes which you saved up for 6 months just broke or just got stained. And the disappointment in such pointless things, because they are stained before you even bought them. They're going to get stained. Your bike's going to fall over, it's going to get scratched. Your car's going to get old and start going pop pop. And the glass, your favorite Zippo lighter, you're going to lose it, or it's just going to stop working one day. So there you go. Not that they take a short time to stop working, but anyway. So, impermanence and clinging to it brings suffering. Embracing impermanence means letting go of permanence and stop believing that things will be permanent. Finding liberation and freedom from these illusions of permanence which control us. And in your contemplations, my friends and fellow meditators and seekers of awakening, I hope you may see, and that I may see, in its fullest, in an awakened state, the interconnectedness of Anijja, the Buddhist concept of impermanence in the Buddha Dhamma, and the concept of entropy as the second law of thermodynamics in physics, and that understanding both and the correlation between both might lead us further towards some deeper insights, in our insight mindfulness meditation and contemplations, and open up more possible access portals to enabling ourselves to enter the path towards ultimate liberation. And with that, may I say, may all beings be happy, and may we all achieve what is in this teaching, because even though it's me who's speaking it, it doesn't mean I've attained everything I have spoken. I share the teachings I realize before I have attained them, in case somebody who is faster and stronger and wiser than me might attain it before me. If 1 million people hear this podcast, then if one person doesn't understand, it doesn't matter. Maybe in 10 years somebody will. Maybe in 100 years somebody will. And even without this, one day somebody will. But if only 100 people or 1 million people listen to this, and one person understands and benefits from it and attains the awakening to any of the points made within this podcast and this quantum Dhamma teaching, this quantum Dhamma Tesana lecture, then that is a victory in itself. And for my personal satisfaction, which I shouldn't need, because that is self-based, and there is no self as such, except an ever-changing one, which is the not-self aspect of that consciousness which we experience as self. That it is not a self, because it's constantly changing. You're not the same thought, feeling, or experience in your consciousness that you were 5 minutes ago. You are therefore not the same self. Those selves do not exist. Something's there, but it's not an unchanging self. And so, Ajahn Spencer, this time for sharing on buddhamagic.net, on ajahnspencer.com, and I think I'll share this on dharmatai.com, which I haven't posted on for ages, which is supposed to be about Gamatan, Vipassana Gamatan, and Thai Buddhism. This is Quantum Dhamma, but I hope it makes sense, and I'm going to actually title it Science and the Dhamma, Where Do They Meet? Part 2, because I got a lot of criticism on my first ever podcast about that, because my knowledge of the verbiage of quantum mechanics was not enough to be able to explain it properly. And so this is my second attempt at explaining one single Buddhist concept and how it correlates to quantum mechanics and physics, namely the concept of Anijja, which means all things are constantly dissolving, and the concept of the second law of thermodynamics, which is entropy, which is that all things are moving from the orderly to the disorderly, or dissolving, decaying into chaos, as far as humans see it. But what is chaos might be true natural order, and I think that's for the next podcast. Ajahn Spencer, now for my podcast channel on YouTube, and for buddhamagic.net, and the Buddha Magic YouTube channel, and the Dharmatai website. Signing off.